Alright, people, midweek report time. So, lot to talk about, lot to discuss here. I think we'll start with the big fight that's coming up over the course of the weekend. And obviously there's the Sky Show on Sunday. I don't really... we'll start with Haney versus Prograis. We'll talk briefly about the Sky Show on Sunday. But that's going to be on the DAZN pay-per-view. Now, they released the price of the DAZN pay-per-view. Now, it's only pay-per-view. Excuse me, it's only pay-per-view in the US. It would make no sense at all to do this on pay-per-view in the UK. It just wouldn't. So it's normal DAZN in the UK and it's pay-per-view in the US. It will be, for DAZN subscribers, $60, basically $59.99. $75 as a once-off buy pay-per-view. And it says not via DAZN. Okay, interesting. So basically, that's what they're looking at. I mean, we complain in the UK about, oh, this pay-per-view is 20 something quid, but the US, they really do have a you guys have it bad over there for pay-per-view prices. They really charge you through the teeth. In terms of the card itself, I'm looking forward to Andy Cruz versus Giovanni Straffon. That should be... Look, Straffon lost... The most recent time I remember watching him was against Maxie Hughes, which was in 2021. He lost that fight. Since then, he's had a stoppage loss in 5 rounds to a guy whose name I won't even attempt to pronounce. I will never forget the James Tennyson win. I forget what card that was on. I wonder what card that was on the James Tennyson win. It was on... Yeah, I thought it was on the undercard of Parker Chisora. All right. I'll never forget that because I think it was just before that fight, James Tennyson, Johnny Nelson was saying that he thinks James Tennyson would knock out Gervonta Davis. Boy, did that rear up and bite him in the ass. And I remember, obviously, he fought Maxie Hughes. He got completely outboxed in that fight. So, Andy Cruz, he's only made his pro debut in July just gone. And in there against Straffon already. So, Cruz, they're going to move him quick. He was an incredibly talented amateur. He's a very talented fighter. So, it's going to be interesting to see how they move him. Liam Perro versus Martin Love. That should be a good fight. I haven't seen Liam Perro in a while. Has he fought since he fought that Brock Javis guy? No, he hasn't. It's over a year ago. Jesus, it's a while. I thought he was out for a run out, but no, that's his first fight since then. And then obviously Haney Prograis in the main event. Now, this fight right here, I've gone back and forth a bit about this fight, who I think will win and why I think they'll win. I didn't do a prediction video, so this is my prediction. My prediction in this fight is Devin Haney to win the fight on points. There's a few reasons for that. Prograis, let's look at Prograis' resume real quick, right? He lost to Josh Taylor in 2019, and since then, he fought in 2020 once. He fought Ivan Redak, I think is how you say that guy's name, probably saying it wrong, but he fought him in 2021. It didn't look amazing. Fought Tyrone McKenna then a year later again. Didn't, set the world alight, but he was in there with someone who he was just leagues and leagues better than. So I was looking at those fights thinking, as high as I rated Regis Prograis, going into the Josh Taylor fight, and I still do rate him, he looked a bit flat in those fights. Then he had a really good win against Jose Zepeda. Really good win against Zepeda. I mean, Josh Taylor couldn't stop Jose Zepeda. Prograis did. So that was... Oh, sorry. I don't think Jose Zepeda. That was Jose Ramirez I was thinking of. Jose Zepeda still in itself takes some stopping. He's not an easy guy to stop. Jose Zepeda, a good fighter. He was able to stop him in 11. Looked good in that fight. And then in his last fight then against that Zorella guy, I think is how you say his name. Yeah, it didn't look good, the Regis Prograis. The guy was very negative, but you're thinking, right, he is not as good a boxer as Devin Haney. And Prograis is really struggling a bit. Right? He's struggling with a guy who's negative. Haney can be negative, but he's got a better jab. He's got better right hand. He's better all round. So you're struggling with someone like that. How is that going to translate against someone like Haney, who is just better? You factor in the age of Prograis. I think he's 33, 34, which... At those weights, 140, that is kind of looking a bit old. All that taken into consideration, that's why I'm picking Devin Haney to win. I think he'll just outbox Regis Prograis. He'll need to be on his guard because Regis Prograis can punch, especially with the left hand. But I think that Devin Haney will be just too fresh, to have too much energy, and just too skilled. If I was to say what would be Prograis' best chance to win this fight, I would say just apply steady pressure. Try and make yourself a very kind of compact, kind of tuck in a little bit. I know it's going to sound weird, but almost kind of fight, a little bit square. and just come in and just let the shots go. That's probably the best way you're going to do it, because you're not going to win a boxing match with Devin Haney. But you're just not going to do it. So I think that's what Prograis needs to do. Whether he does do it or not remains to be seen. But I'm going to take Devin. I was leaning towards Prograis. Then I was like, the age. And then I was like, no. I'm going to go with Devin Haney to win this fight. Probably on points. Probably a kind of a legitimate 116, 112, 170, 111 type scorecard. Round about that. A legit UD. No controversy or anything like that. A legit, yes, we're good to go, boom, that's it. So that's what I think will happen there. In terms of the fight that's happening on Sunday, the Sky card, the Boxer card, I do like when they do these cards on a Sunday. For me, it's just something different. I like F1 when I love the European races in F1. Well, the tracks are amazing. But I do like the American races, because I like having something to look forward to in the evening, on a Sunday evening, where you might not be doing anything. And you're like, okay, I'll look forward to watching the boxing. It's on TV. I'll watch that. And yeah, Billum Smith is in there against Mastanek, who, at his peak fringe world level, fair to say, I remember he lost I think that was a vacant European title. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. But I remember he lost the Bellew on the undercard of Joshua versus White many years ago now. Many years ago. 8 years ago now, thereabouts. I think roughly 8, probably 8 years to the day almost. They fought on December 10, 2015, wasn't it? So that was against Bellew. And, he fought in, I think, the World Boxing Super Series and stuff like that. I think he lost to, I can't remember who he lost to, but I think he lost to Dorticos, actually. But he's always been in and around there, but he's much older now. Chris Billum Smith is looking good, he is looking, I think Chris Billum Smith is actually looking quite okay. I mean, against Lawrence Okoli, horrendous fight, I mean, I wouldn't put anyone through the trauma of watching that again, but, he did what he needed to do, and, it was a reasonably good performance, all things considered. He dropped Okoli a couple of times, at least once legitimately. Speaking of Lawrence Okoli, he is set to return in February. Oh, we're all looking forward to that. Look, Lawrence Okoli, I think that the pressure will be on now more so than ever. Even though he's not a world champion, the fact that he's had those 2 back-to-back performances where Sky invested so much money, he went through all the rigmarole with Hearn, making those comments and stuff, to go and do that and then lose, he is really going to want to go in there and leave no stone unturned, in my opinion. Whether he does or not, again, remains to be seen, because I always speculate about Okoli. He fought that way because he has the trauma still of those amateur losses, where he was either dropped several times or just knocked out, because it happened to him both in the amateurs. And I always suspected that that's maybe never fully left him, and that's why he fights like that. We'll see what he does when he comes back. That's all I can really say to that. We'll see what he does when he comes back. I did see this funny back and forth that Eubank and Conor Benn were having, where Conor Benn posted a clip of himself training, and he says, "You lost your pen again, Chris Eubank Jr." Obviously referring to the failed Triple G fight from all those years ago. And Eubank Jr.'s response was, "You lost your license again." That's a 10-8 round to Eubank Jr. right there. I can't believe that. That's a 10-8 round to Chris Eubank Jr. right there. Yeah, I'm hearing a lot. People are saying that, Eddie Hearn is looking to do the PBA commission to sanction this fight. He says he's met with the PBA. I think they are a very, very professional organisation, have a big future in boxing. I think that's where Ian John Lewis got downgraded to. Now, people are going to want to correct me if I'm wrong on this, right? At this point now, this fight though, it's just again and again, it's Eubank, it's blah, 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 blah. I've even seen Liam Smith say that he'd like a trilogy fight with Chris Eubank Jr. Now, I wouldn't like to see that particularly, especially considering how one-sided the last fight was. But this thing is just dragging on, and I'm pretty sick talking about it. I'm pretty sick waiting on an announcement for this thing. It seems almost like this thing is just destined to fail. If that is the case, Conor Benn should, if he's going to go down the road of fighting in Britain again or fighting in the UK, see what happens with the board. If not, if he's going to go to America, like you mentioned Boots Ennis, and I've said it before, if Eddie Hearn is willing to put Conor Benn in with a middleweight, put him in with Boots Ennis. It's a world title shot. So that's what I got to say on that. Look, Eubank Jr., I think that 168 WBC title should be, or will hopefully be, eventually either vacated. Well, the WWE won't strip Charlo, but they'll eventually vacate it. Maybe you could have a crack at that. Who knows, right? But I think that both guys. I'm just sick of here. It's been this non-stop for the last, God knows how long. I'm just sick of listening to it. I really am at this point. For me, it's just like, I'm done. I'm just done with all that. Now, I have heard that Jaime Munguia is going to be facing John Ryder sometime in January. Now, that's actually a pretty good fight. All right, now I got to say, that's actually a pretty good fight. And it's a fight that Munguia, when he moved up to 160, the Jack Ryder level is what you would think that Munguia should have been operating at. Instead, he was just fighting, a who's he. That's literally what he was doing. Sarah Menno was probably the best name on his resume, maybe even at 160 pounds during that run. He did absolutely nothing. Now he's at 168. Ryder recently fought Canelo. He was soundly beaten by Canelo. He was mandatory, to be fair, but he was soundly beaten. And he's always gave a good account of himself at world level, has John Ryder. He should have been world champion, in my opinion, against Callum Smith. He won that fight. I think a lot of people would feel that he won that fight. He will give Munguia a hard fight. He doesn't give anyone an easy fight. Everyone has to work hard against John Ryder. But I suspect Munguia will probably win it on points, because I think that you'll take something to stop John Ryder. I remember Nick Blackwell stopped him, but if you ever go and watch that fight, Howard Foster actually refereed that fight. I think it was on the undercard of Kell Brook versus Frankie Gavin for the British title. It was a weird fight because, John Ryder started that fight so well, and then Nick Blackwell came on strong, and it was an absolutely farcical stoppage by Howard Foster, as we seem to so often say on here about his stoppages, but it was. And since then, it's almost like he got a big, boot up to you-know-what, and he's been really, really looking better. So, good fight there. I'll be looking forward to seeing that. I'm also seeing here from ESPN that Munguia, Jamal Charlo, and Terence Crawford are reportedly opponents for Canelo in May, with David Benavidez as a let's Benavidez Canelo in September. If Benavidez happens in September, and we know it's going to happen in September, I wouldn't mind any of those opponents in May. The inference is that it has to be Benavidez in September. I would hate to hear Canelo was fighting, let's just say he fights Charlo, right? And I like the way Benavidez last week was saying, well, if you're going to fight, say Munguia, I'm going to fight Charlo, so you don't have the option. I do like that. I do have to say, I like that now. Benavidez is like, I'm going to eliminate all options. What I would hate is for, say, Canelo to fight a Charlo and win, and then maybe, Benavidez doesn't fight a Munguia, and then Canelo's like, oh no, they want to see me fight Munguia. It's like, they want to see you fight Benavidez. I want to see you fight Benavidez. That's the fight I want to see for Canelo Alvarez next. Dave Benavidez versus Canelo Alvarez. That's what I want to see. Now, in other news, speaking of actually, because PBC, they have announced that they have signed a multi-year deal with the US broadcast deal, with Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime is set to become the home of PBC pay-per-view fights. First one planned for March, championship bouts, behind-the-scene documentaries, and more. Yeah, we kind of always thought that it would be... There was rumours that it was going to be DAZN. There was even some rumours of Netflix, believe it or not. And there was also rumours about Amazon Prime. They seem to have settled on Amazon Prime. It says, according to Dan Raphael here, as part of PBC's new deal with Amazon Prime, their non-pay-per-view bouts will be made available on Amazon Prime in the UK. One big gripe I have is that Sky, TNT, DAZN... When these fights, this is the great thing about Box Nation back in the day, they used to just pick up, and Sky did as well, to be fair, they would pick up some of these PBC cards and stuff like that. Now you have Fight TV who charge you a pay-per-view just to watch it. Crazy. It's reported that the deal is for a total of 12 to 14 fights per year. Yeah, it's the problem that's endemic with PBC. It's the problem. 14 dates in a year, is that really... I don't think that's enough. I don't think that's enough. Considering the fact you have these top fighters, that's essentially guaranteeing almost that many of these, unless they're going to fight on each other's undercards, which I doubt, many of these are only going to have one fight this year, the coming year, 2024. And, a lot of those guys are good fighters. And again, it's the problem with PBC, it's the inactivity. Some of these guys, if even, fighting once a year, that's not enough. For me, that's just not enough. Now, some people are saying, is it good, is it bad they've gone with Amazon Prime? For me, it's a bit of a catch-22. It's a double-edged sword, because it's good to have other options of, broadcasters. It is, in that sense. But saying that, it's going to probably most likely be a problem that we're going to have moving forward. We had it with Showtime, we'll have it now probably with Amazon Prime, where, I'm not fighting him because he's on the Zone and he needs to come over to Amazon to fight me. Oh, he's on Amazon, he needs to come to the Zone. He's on ESPN, he needs to come to the... this. Now, it's not been as bad lately. I know the Saudis have played a big part in that. I mean, you look at the Day of Reckoning card that we have come to the end of the month. You have Salida, Hearn, Warren. Who else? You've loads of other promoters on that. So that is helping. But you do still worry. You do look at that and just think, oh, for God's sake. I hope to God that we don't get that again, where it's like he's on this network, he's on that. It's like just... HBO and Showtime did joint shows together. They used to swap the commentary. So you'd have maybe Steve Gray or whatever his name is, Steve Farhood or whatever his name is. Can't remember the guy who, Al Bernstein. I don't know where I was going with that. Steve Farhood, I think, is the guy who does the scorecard. He would go over there and commentate on HBO, and you'd have Jim Lampley on the Showtime card. Stuff like that. Little things like that. It's not a big deal. I think they did that with the Fury Wilder fight. They might have done it with both fights, where, a PBC commentator goes over, Showtime, whoever it was, goes over to Top Rank and vice versa. So they could just do something like that. They have actually released the poster for the Day of Reckoning card. Obviously, I'm very much looking forward to that one. Very, very, very much looking forward to that one. I was looking at this, and I was talking about this earlier. Well, I talked about it earlier in the week, Deontay Wilder. He's declared that he has plans to challenge Tyson Fury versus Alexander Usyk, winner for the undisputed titles. He says, if you got all the belts, you're going to have to fight me. That's my goal. Wipe out the entire division. Well, Tyson Fury wiped you out twice. So you want a fourth fight, I should say. Then, if he wins, and against Alexander Usyk, I will be picking Alexander Usyk definitely over Deontay Wilder. Again, it's something that I spoke about in a recent video about Deontay Wilder that I don't particularly like seeing, in a sense of he is talking about all this, and I'm talking about Usyk Fury, I'm talking about Anthony Joshua, I'm talking about all this. That's all well and good, right? Focus on Joseph Parker. You need to get him out of the way first before you can talk about undisputed winners, before you can talk about Anthony Joshua. Same with Anthony Joshua against Oliver Lane. Before you're going to talk about, not that he is, I haven't seen him anyway, but if he's saying, I want the winner of Fury Usyk, focus on the guy in front of you. Focus on your opponent, right? He's there, he's live, he could win. Right? No use looking and thinking, I'm looking at these, I'm studying these guys. Were you studying Oliver Lane? No. Oh, you lost. Wow, I could have never guessed that would have happened. So focus on the opponent. In terms of some of the other things he's been saying, he claims that Eddie Hearn does not want to make the Joshua fight, though he believes it will happen regardless. He don't want the fight because he's not confident in his product. Joshua is the only money-making fighter Matchroom has. They don't want to see their business fall to the likes of me, someone that can end someone's career. Listen, right? I didn't like the way Joshua was post-fight, going into, post-fight with Hellenius, when it was just like Deontay Wilder next, and he was talking about other things, same with Eddie Hearn. I hope they make that fight next. But again, they have to both come through their respective opponents. You can't write Parker and Oliver Lane off. Oliver Lane is a good fighter. And the thing we need to remember is we are speaking about Deontay Wilder, right? In a sense of, we think he's going to be like the Deontay Wilder of 2019. We don't know that. He, in 2020 and 2021, was in 2 fights, and he came out of those fights with losses, and the beating he took and the damage he would have taken would have been akin to a car crash on both occasions. Probably concussed, broken hands, body shots, all that. He would have been beaten badly in both those fights. But yeah, in the third fight, he gave as good as he got, but he still lost, right? Now, he's only had 2 minutes of boxing since then against Robert Hellenius, someone who we knew very well. I was able to knock him out. We still don't know where he's at. He's 38 years old. So he's talking about he's still going to be this, he's going to be that. We're only really going to tell on fight night against Joseph Parker, who was way more game than I think Robert Hellenius ever would be. So when Wilder, again, he's talking about all this and this, it's like, right, I think he will beat Deontay, or I think he will beat Joseph Parker, but we need to get a good, long, hard look at him and see how it is. Now, if he is like the Wilder of, say, 2018, 2019, and Joshua maybe labours to a decision against Oliver Leon. Would it shock me if Eddie Hearn and Joshua go a different route or go a different road? No, it wouldn't, to be honest with you. It really wouldn't. I mean, I think one of the reasons, well, they've said that one of the reasons why they're fighting Leon is they then usurp him in the rankings. So if the IBF title gets vacant, they can fight for the vacant title, which they, and you know, it gives them, you know, plausible deniability. They could say, you know, well, why are we ducking water? We're fighting for a world title. It's like you repeatedly said you would fight him, and now you're not. And you know, there you go. That's what I got to say on that. Let's have a look at boxing scene, and it's mainly just with you know, PBC. Zelfa Barrett on facing Jordan Gill. If it's a final eliminator, I would take it with both hands. I'd actually quite like to see that fight, Zelfa Barrett versus Jordan Gill. I wouldn't mind that. That's actually a decent fight. That's a decent enough fight. I wouldn't mind seeing that. Both guys are with Matchroom, so it shouldn't be a hard fight to make. I don't see why Eddie Hearn doesn't make that, to be honest with you. That would be... you might be reaching a bit to do that as maybe a standalone main event, but if you got a decent, say like Lee Wood against, you know, say Lee Wood, Josh Warrington rematch, let's just say hypothetically, that'd be an absolutely great co-main event. That'd be a great co-main event on, say, a card like that. It'd be an absolutely cracking co-main. So, Valeen, Parker is not an easy fight for Wilder. He has been inactive. Yeah, pretty much. You know, that's what I've been saying. You know, we are looking at Deontay Wilder and thinking, okay, if he's like 2019 Wilder, he should win, but we just don't know. Again, that's the unknown factor. At least with Joshua, we've seen him over the last year, and I'm looking at him thinking, oh, wow, you know, mentally, you won't let those shots go. There's a lot going wrong there. But at least we know. With Wilder, we don't know. We've seen him for 2 minutes. Can we really gauge where someone's at 2 minutes in a fight? You know, where you just knock the guy out. Hard to tell. We're going to know an awful lot about it come the Joseph Parker fight. Tyson Fury on Alexander Usyk. There's only me who stands in his way of total domination. I did find it interesting in an article I read where John Fury, and it does have me a little bit worried that they're kind of sowing the seeds for an inevitable duck, or certainly a pushback. And if it gets pushed back, who's to say it won't just get scrapped? Where John Fury's been talking about Tyson and training and stuff like that, and you know, kind of February 17th is the date we have. I don't know. A part of me was, I said in the video, like, are they trying to lull Alexander Usyk mentally into a false sense of security, or does he actually believe that? Because you'll often see it with fighters. You know, when a fighter says, I've got like an injury or something like that, you know, post-fight, even if they won or lost, and people say, he's just trying to, well, no, you're not going to go into a fight. Say IFL are interviewing you, and you know, you're a week out from the fight. You're not going to turn around and say, oh yeah, my arm is really sore, or my hand, I can barely throw it. Well, your opponent, if he needs any more confidence, he's going to be like, oh, I've got a wounded man in front of me. Happy days. So, you know, you're not really going to say that. Where John Fury is coming out and saying, oh, we don't know if it's enough time and this, that, and the other. Alexander Usyk is already sparring. And you know, people like Moses Elma saying they won't be probably sparring Fury until January. So, again, I could argue the fact that Alexander Usyk maybe is already a month ahead in terms of his preparation. And with Alexander Usyk, he... consummate professional, year-round athlete, never see him out of shape, right? Yeah, there's injuries there, but you never really see him out of shape or anything like that. And you would imagine at this point now, he kind of knows how to manage the camp, how to handle it. With Tyson Fury, when you hear people like Alan Babbage say, there's a lot of injuries there, you think, well, surely there must be, when you look at the training he does, his height, his weight, everything, and the fact that he's abused his body so much over the year. You know, I said maybe his body physically just cannot. The mind could be there. The mind wants to do the training. The mind wants to get up and do it because, you know, well, you need to do it because you're in there with Alexander Usyk. You can say he's a middleweight, this, that, and the other. You know he's dangerous. You know he's a good fighter, right? Your mind wants to do it, but your body just won't let you. You know, you want to go and do a long run, but your knees are just so bad that you can only walk, where before you could run. And maybe you'll need time to rest before you can even run. And by the time you are running, you know, he's been running for 6 weeks, you've only been running for 3. You know, things like that. Again, it's interesting that John Fury is coming out and saying it. I really do find it interesting. I hope we will see this fight February 17th. And I hope both guys are at their best, if not close to it. I just don't want to see a scenario where it gets pushed back and then God knows what happens then. The IBF turn around and say, we've had enough. fight Filip Hrgovic, and then we have this. You're looking at, you're just like, why? You know, I hope that doesn't happen. I really do. I really hope that doesn't happen. Liam Smith opened the fights at 154, 160, or Billy Joe Saunders at 168. Yeah, what's up with Billy Joe Saunders? There was talk of him coming back in December. It's December. He ain't come back. So let's wait and see what he does, because, you know, he's still talking about this comeback, but man, he is going to look a shell of himself. He really is. He's going to look an absolute shell of himself. What's going on? What other things do we have here? There's not much else, really. Jack Catterall versus Richardson Hitchens. IBF Eliminator ordered. That's a good fight. And the winner be mandatory for Subriel Mateus, which... Man, my guy Subriel Mateus, you know, I cannot hype him up enough any more than I already have. Subriel Mateus is one of my favourite fighters in boxing. Easily up there. Maybe even my most favourite. Love Subriel Mateus. Love watching him fight. Jack Catterall versus Subriel Mateus. I'd be picking him over both guys, to be honest with you. Subriel Mateus, I think he would... It could get very ugly for both guys in there. And that's what I'd be saying on that. In terms of everything else, I think that's pretty much it. So I will leave it there, people. I hope you enjoyed the video. Lads, smash the like button if you haven't already. Hit subscribe, of course, as well. Help your boy grow, help the channel. We're not a million miles off 15k. We're this close. This close. Lads, I appreciate everyone locking in. Hope you enjoyed the videos. Obviously last week we had a bit of a break. We were away for a couple of days, but you know when you're away, you're like, I just want to get back in the swing of things. And that's what we've been doing this week, getting as much out as we can, trying to touch on all things boxing, and I hope you all enjoyed it. For now, lads and lassies, I'll leave you there. Please like the video, smash the like button, hit all that good stuff, or do all that good stuff. Lads, I'll leave it there. Peace.